Howdy y'all, Caleb here. I'm going to look today at some FAQ predictions. What do we think they're going to do to our points coming up soon? They did say in the latest 40K FAQ article that our AOS FAQ is coming later this month, so it's coming soon. So I'm going to have some list building videos and stuff once we know what our points have kind of smoothed out to in the next FAQ. But I wanted to kind of look at these and see if we can predict some of what they're going to change for us based on some of the meta we've seen, what people think of some of our units like Kroak, and how maybe that will get adjusted. So I'm kind of basing it on you can see up here what they've done in the past. So if they're going to put up a unit, move them up 30 points. That usually means he's game-breakingly OP. He's overpowered so bad they need to change it. You saw that with like the Salamanders. They moved each one up 30 points. Now that made the whole unit 90 points more expensive. So that was a big change. But a 30-point jump is pretty big for what they do. Normally it's 10 to 20. 20 points jump would be a little overpowered. 10 is just a little too good. If they leave it alone, that means it's just right. If it goes down 10 points, it means, it's not quite good enough. Down 20, it's underpowered. And down 30, it's basically unplayable. And we've seen those kind of adjustments in the past. Sometimes I go above that. Sometimes I go, below that. But it usually kind of stays in that range, I feel. So I'm gonna base my predictions kind of on that. What we have that's game-breakingly OP might get changed that much. And if it's underpowered, maybe it goes down some too. So, starting off here, we got the Engine of the Gods. I struggle with this one because it can be good in very specific build-outs. But you have to take other stuff to really... you've got a War Scroll in the Engine of the Gods that is... It can't be used completely without a Slaanesh near it. So you've already got something that is... You're not paying for the entire War Scroll. So for 260, I could see the Engine of the Gods going down 10 points. Saying it's not quite good enough. In just about all cases, I'm going with the Skink Chief on Stegadon, unless I'm going to try to go for summons with my Stegadon, or with the Engine of the Gods. So I'm guessing maybe down 10 points on those. Source Warriors, I'm guessing they'll probably stay there. Every time I've used them, I'm a little disappointed in them. But I've only got a unit of 40 with me. I'd sold some off years ago. So I really only ever take one. I don't ever focus an army on that. Maybe I could see it going down 10 points, but I would bet it stays the same. It's kind of like in Kotal's Claw, in Coalesced, they're really there to just soak up damage. And I think they do an okay job at that. They're not ever going to put out a ton of damage unless you just pour buffs into them. And even then, you're not going to get enough of them in combat. So I think it's fine at 90. Maybe it goes down a little bit. Maybe, but probably not. Battalions, I think, to be honest, I think it's fine there. In just about every faction other than Thunder Lizards, it's probably overcosted. In Thunder Lizards, it might be slightly undercosted because you do get to fire it twice. But you're spending a command point every time you want to fire it twice. So you kind of have a built-in economy there. I'm fine with the Battalions at 220. Stegadon, I think it probably stays there as well. I don't think it's overpowered at 240. If you do increase it by 10 points, you probably run the risk of breaking the Stegageddon, which is one of GW's favorite lists. They talked about that when they were doing it, and my personal favorite list. So please don't raise that Stegadon by 10 points. But here we go. We got Lord Kroak. Now this guy has caused quite a bit of gnashing of teeth and wails in the community. At 320, he is undercosted, so he will definitely be seeing a price jump. But I think they can either handle it one of two ways. You can increase the point cost of Kroak, just up 100 points, totally kill him. Or you can, I think what they will probably do is increase him and his support just a little bit, kind of throughout the whole thing, to where overall his point value goes up. Because if you're focusing on Kroak, making him really good, you're going to be taking his support pieces too. I think we will be seeing at least a 30-point increase. So I'm guessing he goes up to 350, maybe more, but I think 350 is a safe bet. On that same note, the Saurus Astrolith Bear, I think, will also go up. So you'll see probably a 10-point increase there, just so that you're slowly pushing up that price of the Kroak Power Tower, as it were. You know, Kroak, Astrolith Bear, Balewind Vortex will probably go up 10 points. Maybe Guard. They don't need to go up, but maybe that's how they deal with Kroak as well. Ripperdactyl Chief, I mean, he's fine at 80. I'd probably rather see him at 70 with the Pterodon Chief. I don't know anybody that runs Ripperdactyls now, so maybe it sees a big decrease in points with the actual Ripperdactyls to try to make them viable again. Really, I think they just kind of need a new War Scroll. You hate to say that since they absolutely killed Ripperdactyls in the new book. Pterodons are just so much better. But he's probably fine. Astrolith Bear will probably go up a few points, probably 10 points, maybe 20 if they're being real aggressive to try to take down Kroak, because you don't really see the Astrolith Bear with much else other than, you know, Kroak and a Slan. That's the only times you're really ever going to field him. He does give you that 6-up ward save, but his real benefit is for the casting. Eternity Warden, Old Blood, I think these guys, they've got to come down at least 10 points. I don't see them going down to 90. That would make them really cheap foot heroes, which I would like. I would probably field one at 90, but I think they're realistic. Maybe they'll go down to 100. I don't think I'd still take them, so maybe they need more. You know, for an extra 100 points, I'm putting them on a Carnosaur just about every day. So I like the Carnosaur way better. Saurus Scarvetta on Cold One. I think he's fine at 110. He's mounted. He's got an extra wound or two. I can't remember. So 110, I'm fine with him there. I've played him a couple times with the Saurus Knights when I didn't quite have enough points for the Carnosaur. And I think he's fine at 110. Saurus Sunblood, also, I feel he needs to go down to 102. I mean, just those foot heroes, I can't see fielding them when the Carnosaurs are as cheap as they are. Skink Priest. So here's another one that might get a hit. So the Skink Priest and Skink Star Priest. I'm going to talk about them for a second now. Fangs of Sotek is obviously a very powerful subfaction right now, and these guys are kind of critical in that, is that you're taking 40 Skinks with these two guys as support. And so I think they're going to try to increase those point costs somewhere for Fangs. Maybe it all comes in Kroak and they leave the Skink stuff alone, but I think you might see some changes here. The Skink Priest probably goes up 10 points. He's 70 points right now. He's an incredible bang for his buck. You've got some great prayers, a great command point, but he is so weak. So weak. He's only got 4 wounds, terrible save, and so I think if they increase him too much, you might just try to go without that prayer, because he's not quite as critical as the Star Priest, so if they raise him too much, he'll just get pushed to the side. I think 10-point increase is fine. He's so fragile that you don't want to raise him too much. The Skink Star Priest, on the other hand, you know, he goes in a lot of my lists because he gets that mortals on wounds. He can pass those off to somebody with his staff, and so, you know, he's great on the Knights. He's great on the Skinks. Put him on the Salamanders, put him on Pterodons, put him on anything you want to. He's going to be good. I think if I were doing this, though, I would leave him at 120 because, again, he's very weak. He has no after save. He's got 5 wounds on a 5-up save, so he's very fragile. He will get sniped quickly. And that's usually the best way to beat a SERAPHON army right now, is just kill a Star Priest, and you're fine. I think what maybe will happen is they'll FAQ his War Scroll to that staff to where it's now a prayer. Since he is a priest, a Star Priest, maybe that's the way they fix him. They leave his points alone, but they put his staff on a prayer roll. Make it a 3-up like the other priest, and I think all of a sudden that is fixed, because you're not going to roll that for every Star Priest you have in your army. You'll usually have 2 in Fangs for 2 big blocks of Skinks, so you'll probably fail one of those. You'll fail them multiple times during a game, And so I think that kind of smooths out that benefit from there. That's what I would do if I were them. You start raising those two little guys' points too much, and they're already so fragile that it's gonna really kill the army. Skink Starseer, I think he's fine at 140. I like him. He's a utility piece for, you're gonna list build specifically to his ability, which gives that big long 3d6 charge, and so I'm fine with him at 140. The Slann Starmaster. So if we're killing Kroak, people I think are just going to come down and use the Slann Starmaster. So if they completely nerf Kroak, I hope they don't nerf the Slann. I think he's fine at 260. He's fragile, no after save. You're going to end up taking a unit of guard with him, and so if they do want to make him more expensive, I'd probably just throw it on the guard. I think he's good at 260. I wouldn't really want to see a change there, but who knows. Pterodon Chief, he's so fragile at 70 and pretty critical to your Pterodon lists. Maybe he goes up a little bit, but I hope not. The Old Blood, he came down a few points on the last update, so I think he's kind of found his niche there at 230. I'm fine with that. Scar Veteran, he might see a 10-point increase. I think 210 is just awesomely priced for that Scar Vet. He is weak on a 4-up save, nothing special to keep him alive, but he's only 210 points. I've gotten use out of him a lot of times, so I like him there. He might go up 10. The Troglodyte, you tried. You brought him down a few points last turn. I think he goes down another 20. I think he is underpowered right now for what he does. You can build a very specific list to use him. But outside of that, he's not seeing the board very often. At 200, now you're starting to entice me. I might put him into a list at 200. Especially if I'm not taking a Slann or a Kroak or something. At 200, I might slot this guy in to get the board-wide mortals. Sticking on Skink Chief, I think he's good at 250. Already been adjusted for him. Don't change him. Chameleon Skinks, man, I struggle with this one. They're a really good little utility piece when taken in units of 5. When taken in units of 20, I mean, there's some outside lists that you can just spam these Chameleon Skinks and do a ton of damage turn 1 with 4 units of these guys. So maybe it goes up 10 points. Maybe the max unit comes down a little bit, but I don't know. I don't see that being played very often, and nobody really wants to buy 100 of those fine cast Chameleon Skinks. Kroxagor, I would love to see the Kroxagor drop a little bit in points, but I think they're fine where they're at. 140 for 3. That max unit, I would love to see somebody run 12 of those guys, but I think they're pretty good where they're at. Razordons, I think, are fine. Ripperdactyls are fine. Salamanders they went up 30 last time. They're still strong, but I don't think people are spamming them like they used to. Maybe you see another 10-point increase just to try to dissuade people from trying to spam with them, but I think we're already at that point now where people are only going to bring 3 of the salamanders. So I think they're fine where they're at. They're really, really powerful, but it's just 1 unit, and you're going to pay 330 points for it. I don't know. You might see another increase for them. Source Guard. This will be part of that Kroak puzzle, because that's the only reason you take Source Guard, to keep Kroak or your Slann alive. And it's all going to depend on what they do with Kroak. If they want to make that Kroak build a little bit more expensive, they might raise the price of the Source Guard. Maybe they will. So if they do, I would like to see the max unit come down to 15, because that's what comes in a box. So make raise them 10 points, but then make a max unit, give you a Horde discount if you're taking 30, maybe. That's going to be an interesting part of that Kroak puzzle, I think, is what they do. Source Knights. Yes, I like the Knights where they're at. I think they stay there. Up or down, 10 points, maybe, but I think for what they do, they're fine at 100. Skinks. Skinks. They can never get Skinks right. I feel like every FAQ they're adjusting Skinks up or down. Well, have they ever come down? I don't think an FAQ's ever brought Skinks down, but they do adjust them a lot. and the new book brought them back down to pretty cheap. And so maybe we see them go up 10 points and then maybe a Horde discount on those guys. But you start messing around with those Skink prices and you're going to kill a lot of lists. I do think they'll probably end up going up 10 points just because of the Fangs builds that are pretty powerful and just putting out tons and tons of shots. So I do think you'll see them go up 10 points, which will make the Fangs list pretty tough. You know, if everything in the Fangs list is going up, Kroak support, Skink support, Skinks, Salamanders, it's going to be hard to survive on a Fangs list if they do all this. We may have to change some things up. Pterodon Riders, I think Pterodon Riders are fine. They can do a lot of damage. Sometimes they can surprise people with all those mortal wounds that they drop their bombs on, but they're so fragile. And if you don't take them in a very specific, I mean, you would never use these in Coalesce because their bravery is terrible and they're so weak. So you would lose them so fast. So I think they're only good in the Starborn side. Maybe somebody uses them in Coalesce. Let me know if you do. But I think they're fine at 90. Our battalions, you know, the biggest change I would like to see in the battalions, I think, is switching some of them between the factions, to be honest. Like, I feel like the Sunclaw, Starhost, and Temple Host should be switched because nobody's going to take Sunclaw in Starborn. And getting the extra rend on your weapon would be amazing in Kotal's Claw. So, honestly, I would just like some of these to swap positions. Thunderquake Temple Host is great. I love that at 150. I don't always take it, though. So if they increase the points, it may be to where I never take it again. But 150 I think is fine. Overall, the battalions, they're all pretty expensive. We don't really have that many cheap battalions other than the ones that you would never use, like Thunderquake Starhost. So I'm never going to use Thunderquake in a Starborn list, especially if you're just healing 1 per turn on your monster, on your 3 monsters. I mean, no, I can get that from an engine easy. Maybe it goes into it too. I don't know. Anyway, battalions are probably fine. There's quite a few of them that probably need a little points adjustment because I really only find myself ever using the Thunderquake Temple Host. Occasionally the Firelance Temple Host. And I would probably run the Sunclaw if it was swapped. Do I have a bias towards Coalesced? Maybe so. All right, Bound Endless Spells. I think we're going to see some changes here too. There's some of them that I don't think the Bound version is going to do anything, like Bound Balewind Vortex. Maybe it goes up in points, but who cares? Because you're never going to take the Bound version. I do think Balewind Vortex may go up in points, or may just be removed, which if they just remove Balewind Vortex from the list, then maybe that fixes Kroak. Because now all of a sudden he's really short range and we don't have to fiddle with all those points. If they removed Balewind Vortex, they've already stopped selling it. So it's already really hard to get. So maybe they just take out Balewind Vortex and that fixes Kroak. Now he's only got a 16-inch range instead of 22. He doesn't have an extra spell. I think that does a lot to fix him there. Who knows? We'll see. I think a lot of the other ones are fine. Ones that you will definitely see an increase on are Geminids. Bound Geminids will probably go up 30 points. It'll probably become 100 points. And even at 100 points, if I've got 100 points sitting there looking at me and I'm trying to decide between endless spells, I'll probably take that one. I like that one. Purple Sun will probably go up 20 points. Things like Bound Prismatic Palisade, there's absolutely no reason to change that price. I'm not going to take the Bound version anyway. Quicksilver Swords is fine. Gnashing Jaws is fine. Don't increase those prices. That's the only time those spells are seeing the table is on the Bound version. So if you want to never see those spells again, increase their points even further. Bound, Schnackles. It's, yeah. Some of these are kind of pointless to be bound. The spell portal, like why does that matter if it's bound? It's 80 points. I'm not taking that anyway. Realm Shaper Engine is 0 points. Yeah, that's priced right. It's worthless. You know what? I would pay some points to have the Realm Shaper Engine fixed to where I can actually put it on my side of the table. Maybe that's what they'll do in the FAQ is fix that. All right, well, that was 20 minutes of talking through points. That was probably pretty boring. Let me know what kind of points you want to see changed, and maybe we'll come back and we'll do another video once they finally release the FAQ and our apocalypse has happened and Kroak is dead and doom and gloom, or maybe they just erase Balewind Vortex and we're all good. So, all right, let me know what points are y'all predicting. Let me know in the comments below. What do you think is going to change? What's going to get nerfed? What's going to see the table after this? All right, guys. See y'all later.